It doesn't matter because he's not.
When does it matter?
Now, if we're literally looking at each other, you see, there's a.
Oh yeah, that's actually quite clever.
He's quite
Yeah, just
loud.
don't cut to our face. Can you turn your webcam on and cut to yourself? It's useless. What do you know?
I'm doing it right because I like to do it right.
What if I just constantly turn this way?
Yeah,
Works,
just
right?
talk to the wall.
Okay.
We're at grand final, so we are talking over Kingu versus your malaria.
Oh, you fucking hate Max.
What? I love Max. What's the problem? You're surrounded by the phone, the computer.
I can't
What?
deal with this. Okay. Are you narrating?
Yeah, are you doing the voices?
Oh, we can share the voices if you want.
You do the
we
voices.
Can do. No, okay. So you narrate because that's the first thing that comes in.
Yeah.
You've already done Pooh, so you do him.
What?
Oh, I guess.
You just do all the voices. End of.
No, you do Pooh.
Why?
Because you've already done Pooh. It's consistency.
Okay, fine.
There are going to be people who are watching this right now who think, you know what? I won't mute this stream because this is very entertaining. And the moment they hear that from chapter 2 to chapter 3, Pooh's voice has changed, that Pooh Bear has gone through puberty in the space of 10 minutes, they're going to be like, no, I don't sub to Phoenix Smash for this. I don't. Why?
Shut up.
If he's not bothered
Shut
to
up.
have consistency.
The piglet lived in a very grand house in the middle of the beech tree, and the beech tree was in the middle of the forest, and Piglet lived in the middle of the house. Next to his house was a piece of broken board which had.
That's not a character saying it. You have to say that. That's still the narrator.
Trespassers W on it. When Christopher Robin asked the piglet what it meant, he said that it was his grandfather's name, and that he'd been in the family for a very long time. Christopher Robin said, "You can't be called Trespassers W," and Piglet said, "Yes, you can, because his grandfather was, and it was short for Trespassers Will, which was short for Trespassers William, and his grandfather had two names, in which case he lost one. Trespassers after an uncle, and Trespassers after Trespassers, and William after Trespassers."
I've got two names,
said Christopher Robin carelessly.
Well, there you are. That proves it.
One fine winter's day, when Piglet was brushing away the snow in front of his house, and Jack can't use the computer, thank you. When
he was what?
He happened to look up, and there was Winnie the Pooh. Pooh was walking around and round in a circle, thinking of something else, and when Piglet came to him, he just went on walking.
Hello,
said Piglet.
Oh, okay, no, don't worry. I've embarrassed myself, and I've embarrassed Phoenix Smash. What are you doing?
Hunting, said Pooh.
Hunting what?
Tracking something, said Winnie the Pooh very mysteriously.
Tricking what?
Said Piglet, coming closer. That's just what I've asked myself. I asked myself what?
What do you think you'll answer?
I shall have to wait until I catch up with it, said Winnie the Pooh. Now look here, he pointed to the ground in front of him. What do you see there?
Tricks?
Said Piglet.
Paw marks.
He gave a little squeak of excitement.
Oh, Pooh, do you think it's a woozle?
It might be, said Pooh. Sometimes it is and sometimes it isn't. You never can tell with paw marks. With these few words he went on tracking, and Piglet, after watching him for a minute or two, ran after him. Winnie the Pooh had come to a sudden stop, and he was bending over the tracks in a puzzled sort of way.
What's the matter?
Said Piglet. It's a very funny thing, said Bo, but there seem to be two animals now. This, whatever it was, had just been joined by another, whatever it is, and the two of them are now proceeding in company. Would you mind coming along with me, Piglet, in case they turn out to be hostile animals? Piglet scratched his ear in a nice sort of way, and said that he had nothing to do until Friday, and would be delighted to come, in case it really was a woozle. You mean in case it really is two woozles? Said Winnie the Pooh. And Piglet said that anyhow he had nothing to do until Friday, so they went off together. There was a small spinney of larch trees just here, and it seemed as if the two woozles, if that is indeed what they were, had been going around the spinney. So round the spinney that Pooh and Piglet after them. Wait, what? So round the spinney went Pooh and Piglet after them. Piglet passed the time by telling Pooh what his grandfather Trespassers W had done to to remove stiffness after tracking, and how his grandfather Trespasser W had suffered in his later years from shortness of breath, and other matters of interest, and Pooh wondering what a grandfather was like, and perhaps if the two grandfathers... and perhaps this was two grandfathers that they were... oh my god, what? And if so, that is too long a sentence. I'm going to start with... Suddenly Winnie the Pooh stopped, and pointed excitedly in front of him. "Look!"
What?
said Piglet with a jump, and then, to show that he hadn't been frightened, he jumped up and down twice more to see that it was more of an exercising kind of way. "The tracks!" said Pooh. "A third animal has joined the other two."
Hang on. Do you think it's another woozle?
"No," said Pooh, "because it makes different marks. It's either two woozles as one, and it might be Whizzle, or two as it might be, and Whizzles, and if it's so, is Woozle. Let us continue to follow them." So they went on, feeling just a little anxious now, in case three animals were in front of them, were all of hostile intent. And Piglet wished very much that his grandfather TW were there, instead of elsewhere, and Pooh thought how nice it would be if they met Christopher Robin suddenly, but quite accidentally, and only because he liked Christopher Robin so much. And then, all of a sudden, Winnie the Pooh stopped again, and licked the tip of his nose in a cooling manner, for he was feeling more hot and anxious than ever before in his life. There were 4 animals in front of him. "Do you see, Piglet? Look at their tracks! 3, as it were, woozles, and 1, as it was, Whizzle. Another woozle's just joined them." And so it seemed to be. There were the tracks, crossing over each other, getting muddled up here and there, but quite plainly every now and then, the tracks were 4 sets of paws.
I think...
said Piglet, when he had licked the top of his nose too, and found it brought very little comfort.
I think that I've just remembered something. I've just remembered something that I forgot to do yesterday in Joburg, and I shan't be able to do tomorrow, so I suppose I really ought to get back and do it now.
"We'll do it this afternoon. I'll come with you," said Pooh.
It isn't the sort of thing you can do in the afternoon.
Said Piglet quickly.
It's a very particular morning thing. It has to be done in the morning, and if possible, between the hours of... what did you say the time was?
"About 12, said Winnie the Pooh, looking at the sun.
Between, as I was seeing, the hours of 12 and 12:05. So really, dear Pooh, if you'll excuse... What's that?
Pooh looked up at the sky, and then, as he heard the whistle again, he looked up into the branches of an oak tree and saw a friend of his. It's Christopher Robin," he said.
Oh, then you'll be all right.
Said Piglet.
You'll be quite safe with him. Goodbye.
And he trotted off home as quickly as he could, very glad to be all out of danger again. Christopher Robin came slowly down his tree.
"Silly old bear,"
he said.
"What were you doing? First you went round the spinning twice by yourself, and then Piglet ran after you when you went round again together. Then you were just going round a 4th time."
"Wait a moment," said Winnie the Pooh, holding up his paw. He sat down and thought, in the most thoughtful way he could think. Then he fitted his paw into one of the tracks, and then he scratched his nose twice and stood up. "Yes," said Winnie the Pooh. "I see now," said Winnie the Pooh. "I have been foolish and deluded," he said. "I am a bear of no brain at all."
"You're the best bear in all the world,"
said Christopher Robin suddenly. "Oh, am I?" said Pooh hopefully, and then he brightened up suddenly. "Anyway, it's luncheon time," he said, so he went home for it. Oh, that's the end of that chapter. Oh Lord, we need Tracer for Eeyore.
Can you hear us?
Probably not.
Is this almost over?
Probably.
No, it's not.
No, it's not. Where are we?
We've got to keep on going.
Chat.
It's 2-1. Yo, who is this guy? Who is this guy?
It's Kingu.
Canada? Do you even know where Canada is? He could be.
Yeah, it's where Sarah went to.
Who's Zara?
Sarah. Yeah,
with
the
a
girl.
T like a Zara? Or a S like a Sarah with no H?
Sarah. The one that used to work here. Oh, we all miss
yeah.
very much. Remember her?
Is she the one that beat Leo Massey in Tekken?
That would be the one! That would be precisely the one, yes.
Okay.
Yes. We miss Sarah. Come back, Sarah.
I'm not going to read it.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, you'll have to do, like, actual melee commentary in the chat. But we need Chase for real. How much Eeyore is there?
Chase, do you want to be Eel?
I don't know how long. I don't know how long until Eeyore comes into the story. Okay. Sorry. He said, "Let me know when Eeyore comes in." Where? Oh yeah. You come in quite quickly, Chase. I mean.
He actually comes in there. The third sentence.
Okay, fair enough. Do you want to do the actual reading of the words?
Are you bored?
No, I love doing it, but I'm just giving you the opportunity. No, okay, good. The old grey donkey Eeyore stood by himself in a thirsty corner of the forest. Thistly, like thistles. Got it. Try that again. The old grey donkey Eeyore stood by himself in a thistly corner of the forest, his front feet well apart, his head to one side, and thought about things. Sometimes he thought sadly to himself.
Chase, you're up.
Can't do it, it's just one
For
word.
the record,
What?
Chase did not turn up on time to his voice acting role.
So I'll start this line again. Sometimes he thought sadly to himself,
Why?
and sometimes he thought,
Wherefore?
and sometimes he thought,
Inasmuch as which?
and sometimes he didn't quite know what he was thinking about. So Winnie the Pooh came stomping along.
How do you do?
Wait, Eeyore was very glad to be able to stop thinking for a while in order to say,
How do you do?
in a gloomy manner to him, "And how are you?" said Winnie the Pooh. Eeyore shook his head from side to side. "I can't hear you, Chase,"
Not.
he said.
I don't seem to have felt at all how far. What? I don't seem to have felt at all how.
"Dear, dear," said Pooh. "I'm very sorry about that. Let's have a look at you." So Eeyore stood there gazing sadly at the ground, and Winnie the Pooh walked all around him once. "Why, what's happened to your tail?" he said in surprise.
What has happened to it?
Said Eeyore. "It isn't there!"
Are you sure?
"Well, either a tail is there or it isn't there. You can't make a mistake about it, and yours isn't there."
Then what is?
"Nothing,"
Let's have a look.
said Eeyore, and turned slowly around to the place where his tail had been a little while ago, and then, finding that he couldn't catch it up, he turned around the other way, until he came back to where he was at first, and then he put his head down and looked between his legs, and at last he said, with a long, sad sigh,
I believe you're right.
"Of course I'm right," said Pooh. God, this is my role. "Of course I'm right," said Pooh,
That accounts for a good deal.
said Eeyore gloomily.
It explains everything. No wonder.
"You must have left it somewhere," said Winnie the Pooh,
Somebody must have taken it.
said Eeyore. "How like them—" oh, sorry,
How like them.
he added after a long silence. Pooh felt that he ought to say something helpful about it, but didn't quite know what. So he decided to do something helpful instead. "Eeyore," he said solemnly, "I, Winnie the Pooh, will find your tail for you,"
Thank you, Pooh.
answered Eeyore.
You're a real friend.
Said he,
Not like some.
he said. So Winnie the Pooh went off to find Eeyore's tail. It was a fine spring morning in the forest as he started out. Little soft clouds played happily in a blue sky, skipping from time to time in front of the sun, as if they had come to put it out, and then sliding away suddenly, so that the next might have his turn. Through them and between them the sun shone bravely, and a copse which had worn its furs all year round seemed old and dowdy now beside the green new lace which the beeches had put on so prettily. Through copse and spinney marched Bear, down open slopes of gorse and heather, over rocky beds of streams, up steep banks of sandstone, into the heather again, and so, at last, tired and hungry, to the 100-acre wood. For it was in the 100-acre wood that Owl lived. "And if anyone knows anything about anything," said Bear to himself, "it's Owl who knows something about something," he said. "Or my name's not Winnie the Pooh," he said. "Which it is," he added. "So there you are." Owl lived with the chestnuts, and old world residents of charm. which was grander than anybody else's, or so it seemed to bear, because it had a knocker and bell pull. Underneath the knocker there was a notice which said, Please ring if answer is required. Under the bell pull there was a notice which said, Please knock if an answer is not required. These notices had been written by Christopher Robin, who was the only one in the forest who could spell. For Owl, wise though he was in many ways, able to read and write and spell his name. Let me try that one again. These notices